Alright you guys, and welcome back to a brand new sculpting video. And last week I said this. And yeah, I can't lie, I'm still kinda annoyed how this one turned out. Basically, I wasn't fully satisfied with the sculpture. And since I don't want to leave the sculpting table like girls leave me, being not satisfied, I naturally wanted to get my redemption and figured since I fumbled the egg, the only logical thing to sculpt next is an eggplant. But with a mouth, and a tongue, and an eye. Apparently. And yeah, my sanity might seem a little fragile these days, but my doctor said I should be good to go. Anyways, by now I've not only yapped quite far, but I also made some decent progress on the sculpture, since I'm already done with the basic shape and I also added a mouth hole. Which now brings me to turning this thick wiener with a mouth into a not so thick eggplant with a mouth. Basically, I'm starting to add its wobbly leaves hanging from the top. And once I got my top fully covered, I can get started working on the stem. Said stem will later be holding the aforementioned eye, which is why I added some wire for some added stability. And after some blending work, I can move on to making said eye by rolling an eye-appropriate round ball. After test fitting the eyeball to the stem, I'll nudge it off again, since it's now time to cut my plant in half. Well, not quite, but I'll go ahead and carve a big cut into the body. Said cut won't be staying unfilled though, cause I'ma go ahead and make a collar leading to a chain which has been attached to the eggplant. Once rolled flat with my clay roller that should seriously boost my attractiveness, I can lay it into the big crack and get started finishing the mouth section. Now, I'm definitely not procrastinating sculpting a chain out of clay, since that would imply that I'm scared, which I'm definitely not. Anyways, I started forming the mouth with two voluminous lips, which I'll then blend in with some gums. Once blended in, I can use those gums to poke some pre-baked teeth into place. But I'll make sure to leave a gap on his lower jaw, so that the tongue has a place to wiggle. Speaking of which, I'm now making said tongue, which I can, after getting on all those necessary tongue details, stick into the gap which I created proactively. And now onto the fun part. Now, in a decade of sculpting or so, I never had the guts to try and make a movable chain. But since I'm all about stepping out of the comfort zone, I grabbed my balls and went ahead. Only to then realize I need both hands to sculpt, so I let go of them again and tried to figure out a method for making said chain. And after some failed attempts of using cast clay and wire, I decided it would be best to go with some Super Sculpey since it's more stable. So naturally I rolled out some tiny wieners, and after the tedious process of arranging them in a chain-like pattern, I can throw my 3 parts into the oven. And to my surprise, the chain came out working quite nicely. Anyways, I then removed all the teeth and tongues. Well, there was just one tongue to remove. And with that, I can prime the whole thing white, and my fingers apparently. Moving on, I started to apply an initial layer of purple paint I ended up disliking. So after priming the leaves and mouth, I went over it again with not one, since that wouldn't be enough, but 2 more layers of purple. Which definitely won't bite me in the ass later. I then made sure my airbrush is still broken, so I can paint the chain and ring the humble way by using a standard paintbrush. I then painted the edges of the leaves, as well as the gap between the ring and skin. Following that by painting all the metal parts using some metal paints. Once everything is shining, I can go ahead and apply a bloody red wash to the mouth and color. And since the tongue is still quite white at this point, I made sure to paint it in an adequate red flesh tone. With the tongue glued in place, I'ma go ahead and paint my singular ball white. And I'll try my best at making a somewhat recognizable iris and pupil. Now, last but not least, and not last either, I can glue all the teeth in their intended hole, as well as drip on the bloody edge, onto which I can then glue my eye on top of. After gluing the chain into place, I'll add some final touches here and there using some UV resin, and ruining one of my paintbrushes in the process. And that's my eggplant done. Alright, thank you guys for watching. Now, if I'm completely honest with having them stand side by side, I might actually have to say I like the Easter egg more. I don't know if this whole mission can be considered successful. Nevertheless, I'm now a proud owner of an eggplant with teeth, tongue, chain and eye, and that's a win in my book. Anyways, let me know down below which of these two monsters you like more, as well as what creature in a similar style I should make next. And as always, please subscribe baby and consider liking the video if you prefer your eggplant without teeth. And I'll catch you in the next one. I love y'all, bye.